to the kingdom of Israel!
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The book of Psalms, chapter 16 and verse 11. It says, "Thou wilt show me the path of life." So we're on the path of life. The path of life leads to paradise. The path of life leads to glory, which the glory is the kingdom of heaven. And we're on that path of life. We're walking on the path of the tree of life to gain eternal life.
Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
To eternal peace and joy.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Mekapadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to which our brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Mekapadash. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, when they came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Shemal Shai. All right, so another morning, all right, news and prophecy, and just dealing with, the depopulation agenda, of the wicked, and ultimately it's the depopulation agenda of the Lord. All right, and he's going to use the wicked Esau Edom, to carry out, a lot of mass death in the earth. And these devils have been incorporating, death into society, in so many different ways. Okay. But this man, the scripture say he is as death. Okay. So this man, all right, Esau Edom, the Lord has allowed this man, to be off the chain, okay, within his rulership, to fulfill wickedness on the left hand side. All right. And it's coming to an appointed time where the Lord is getting ready to intervene and shut this man down. Okay, Esau is like a wild dog, a wild madman. All right, just been on the loose, just been able to wreak havoc in the earth. Okay, but you have an authority, all right, that's above Esau, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that's going to come and put this man down. All right, the same authority that turned this man loose, okay, in the earth. Okay, the scriptures speak about, he shall be loosed. Okay, a little season. Matter of fact, let's get that, man. Okay, and show you how prophecy, all right, lines up. Now, when you go here, to the book of Revelation, okay, chapter 20, they spoke about this man, all right, being loose. Revelation 20, okay, and at 7, it says, and when the 1,000, all right, years are expired, okay, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Okay, and this is speaking of Esau during the Renaissance period, because Esau is the embodiment of Satan in the earth. This man rules the earth, fully possessed by Satan. The higher up you get in Esau's kingdom, his rulership, the more satanic it is, man. Okay, the more satanic the people that make the decisions, all right, for this kingdom. All right, the higher you get up, and the people that make the decision for this kingdom, the more satanic it gets, man. Okay, so Satan was loose, all right, via Esau, okay, during the Renaissance period, man. Okay, and then and since he's been loose, what has he done, man? Okay, verse 8, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, man. Okay, and when he was let loose, all right, he immediately put on, the mask, the disguise of a Christian. Okay, as this God-fearing Christian, and he went to conquer the earth with the sword, which he was blessed with by Isaac. Okay, because he was blessed with that sword for a purpose on the left hand side, to be at war continually, okay, and to cause mass judgment in the earth. Okay, he was going to be a tool of judgment that the Lord was going to use in the earth, man. The Lord, used him to punish us, all right, to be a punishment to us, but he took it too far. Okay, so the Lord was going to punish him for that. All right. So before, his appointed time of him being punished, the Lord is using him as a tool on the left side for mass judgment, man. Okay. And he's the perfect nigga for it, man, because he don't give a damn. Okay. He doesn't care about life. He doesn't care about people. He really doesn't care about himself, man. Okay. When you really look at how this man moves. You see, so this man was deceived. He put on, this disguise of Christianity, went forth conquering the earth, with the Bible in his hand and the sword in the other. Okay, them cannons behind him. Okay, but what is it going to lead to? Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. Okay, so this devil's rulership will begin with him deceiving, slaughtering, all right, raping, stealing, okay, and eventually it will lead to a war, okay, where America and Russia will face off head to head, all right, which is going to go nuclear, okay, and usher in Yahweh Shai, okay, which is going to come conquer all the heathens, man. So we're watching the Lord's plan play out. When we look at geopolitics, when we look at current events, when we look at the moves that's being made in the earth, this is the plan of the Lord playing out, man. Okay, Esau is just a part of it. Okay, he's within it. Okay, so when you go here, so the reason why Esau is allowed to do particular things, and it seemed like, man, this nigga got it all figured out. No, the Lord got it figured out. Okay, Esau just playing his part. Okay, it's the Lord that's allowing particular things to come to mind because the Lord has his agenda that he's going to play out, man. Okay, when you go to Isaiah 46:9, remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I'm the Most High, and there is none like me. And see, this how the Lord separates himself, from false deities, from other doctrines, by speaking these things way before and then causing them to happen exactly like he said it would happen, you know? So the reason why, Esau is going to be able to mandate the MOTB is because it's written. If it wasn't written for Esau to mandate the MOTB, he wouldn't get to that point. Okay? If the Heavenly Father didn't want mass slaughter in the earth, Esau wouldn't be able to pull off mass slaughter in the earth, man. Okay? So we have to understand everything we're seeing on the left and the right is the will of the Lord going forth, man. Okay, verse 10, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times of things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Okay, so we're seeing the Lord do all his pleasure in the earth, man, on the left and the right. Okay, but the Lord has a righteous end game at the end. Okay, and that's for his remnant of his people to be perfected, and eventually through that remnant, the rest of his people come back in their right mind and rule the earth in righteousness with Yahweh Shai forever, man. Just to simplify things, man. Okay, this is what the Lord always had planned from the beginning. Okay, but we had to be refined through these captivities, man. We had to get this experience. We had to be, the tail of society, all right, to really understand the full spectrum of rulership. Okay, so now that we're at the end of being refined, we're in that last process, that last phase of being refined. All right, the Lord is beginning to wrap this thing up, man. So when you go here, we know that the famine, all right, is a big part, okay, of the Lord's agenda. All right, and even 2/3 of our people, because when you go into time of collapse, well, who suffers first? The poorest people, the poorest countries, all right, and the poorest people of countries suffer first. Now, eventually, these things are going to affect everybody, man. No matter what your status or your wealth is, you're going to be affected. Hell, even the elites themselves going to end up in captivity. You see, as this thing plays out. Okay, so prophecy is going to walk down every demographic, every country, every every status of wealth. So prophecy is going to find its way to you, man. To where even the elites, all right, are going to go into captivity, man. Okay, but when you go into collapse of like this global collapse, because the Lord wants a global collapse, all right, because the Lord hates this world order. Okay, and he's going to destroy, all right, Esau's attempt at a new world order, man. Okay, so the Most High hates this current world order. Okay, the way the people are, the way this system works, the way it's so corrupt. Okay, where it's meant to impoverish the masses and enrich the few. Okay, oligarchs, these few ruling families. The Lord hates this setup, man. Okay, matter of fact, let's get that in the book of Psalm 73. Okay, we got a few videos. Rogers, we'll tap in. So this is the book of Psalm 73 and 17. It says, until I went into the sanctuary of the Most High, then understood I therein. So until we came into the understanding, because when you come to the sanctuary of the Most High, we've been awakened to this truth and able to come into the sanctuary where we have to be awakened, okay, by truth, activated through faith. I'll say, so as we come into the sanctuary of the Most High, we understand the end of these niggas, man. Because it's one thing, just to know about these devils and know certain things is going on. All right, like Jake say, just to be woke. It's one thing that we call woke in this world, okay, and truly being, enlightened in righteousness, man. Truly having the Holy Spirit deal, the spirit of comfort. What gives us comfort is that we can see this nigga is finna fail, man. This nigga don't got it. The Most High is propping this nigga up, all right? So Esau can finish what you got to do, okay? The Most High got this nigga propped up, man, okay? But this nigga, all right, don't got it, man. Esau eat him, okay? The Most High got this nigga propped up to fulfill his agenda on the left hand side, man. Because Most High gives us, glimpses of this nigga, and you see his decision making, and it's like, nah, this nigga don't got it, bro. But for the sake of prophecy, the Lord got this nigga propped up to fulfill particular prophecy, man. Okay? Verse 18 says, surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Okay? Esau has been set up for failure, man. Everything that this devil's been doing to get himself to this point to where he is ready to pull off, a new world order. Okay. Well, every step that he took set him up for failure, man. Okay. Because it was always set up for him to get so far with it, man. And a part of this new world order is depopulation. That's one thing that people don't understand is he's telling you about this, what they call, because it went from universal basic income to high universal basic income. Because there's witchcraft. So they add word, they play on words, man, to play with your mind. Okay, because at first they was calling it UBI, universal basic income, because AI is going to take over all the work, so the people that get replaced, well, we're just going to give them a basic income and y'all just go kick it and enjoy the earth. Okay, like it's going to be this utopia where AI is going to do all the work and everyone just get to kick it and enjoy the earth, man. Nah, man, he plans on a lot of people not being here. Okay, and then they came back with the high, people hear the high universal basic income, and it plays on their minds. Witchcraft, man. Okay, this nigga don't even give you high wages now when you do the work. So he gonna give you a high wage when you're not doing nothing. Okay, you see? So people don't understand that they don't plan on most of the population not being here, like 70% of the population not being here. Okay, people don't factor that in. You see, and that's why a lot of things that this devil does, it doesn't make sense to the masses because they don't understand that he wants depopulation. Okay, he wants mass. All right, death in the earth, man. Because he knows that he's limited, man. All right, he knows that AI can't control. All right, 8 billion people. Okay, and in his mind, well, he can manage 500 million, but 8 billion, that's too much. Okay, and he give you this whole rundown like it's not enough resources, man. The earth got more than enough resources, man. If everyone had the skill, if every family on the earth had the skill of farming the land has way more than enough. Okay, the Lord created the earth, okay, in abundance. Okay, with abundance, man. Okay, he didn't create the earth, all right, to have a limit, 500 million people on this big, gigantic earth, man. Okay, all this farmable land, all these animals that reproduce themselves by the hundreds. Okay, the hundreds and thousands, monthly, man. Like, nah, man, the Lord created the earth in abundance, man. But this devil and his wicked agenda, okay, he wants to maintain the earth to 500 million so he can easily control them. Okay, with his AI, because he wants AI to govern the world, while he enjoys the earth, while he enjoys the abundance of resources. Okay. Well, now the Lord set this man up in slippery places, man. Even his ambition of greed, he has such a greedy ambition. Okay, and that greedy ambition is starting to work against this nigga, man. That's why you see Esau, being he's gambling, man. Like what they attempted to do in Iran, it was a gamble. That's the devil because Esau, he operates off that high risk, high reward system. That's how this nigga operates, man. And he has created a system where he has to stay at war. Okay, for the system to work, this Ponzi scheme of the dollar, well, he got to stay at war for the dollar. For America has to stay at war for the dollar to be dominant, man. Okay, So this man has created a system to where he's going to destroy himself, okay, through war. You know, and Yahweh Shai, like I say, he's going to intervene in this war and he's going to finalize the judgment because Yahweh Shai is coming to end the war with power. Okay? It says, surely thou didst set them in slippery places, thou castest them down into destruction. How are they brought into desolation as in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors? Okay? So it's going to be quick. You know, Esau got all these schemes going, and which also part of the war, because the war is always for multiple things. The war is never just for one singular thing. Okay, a global reset is a major part of this war. But then you have to factor in the energy. Okay, the infighting between Russia, America, and China. There's actually tension between these nations, man. Okay, they agree and they all right, have digital infrastructure in their societies, but then there's also actual tension. Esau don't get along with nobody, man. Esau ain't got no hunky dory relationship with nobody, man. He don't even have that amongst themselves, man. Okay, there's always authentic tension between these nations. Now they push off and hype up a lot of the tension. They hype up a lot of the you know the rivalries between certain nations, to push agendas that have nothing, because they are so there's actual tension between Russia, China, and America, okay, and Iran, okay. But what they do is they do hype up, they'll bring up Russia and China name, all right, just so they can justify them doing something that they want to do that has nothing to do with Russia or China. Okay, so they do that, but they use these rivalries, and they'll push propaganda like they're doing this because of that. Where AI is placing so many jobs because we got to keep up with China. You know, AI is doing this because we got to keep up with. That has nothing to do with it. Okay, but that doesn't negate that there's actual tension between these nations, man. All right, that there's actually competition between these nations, man. Okay, and the Lord gonna just keep putting it on their spirit, all right, to go all out into war. Okay, so it says, how are they brought into desolation as in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors, as a dream when one awaketh. So, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image, man. Okay, so the Lord is becoming active, okay, because it like the Most High, is actually sleep, okay. It's just the Most High now, he's beginning, all right, to be active against these devils, man, because he despises their image and everything, that they've established, man, and what they're trying to establish, man. The Lord's finna reject, all right, this wicked sacrifice of Esau, man, because this new world order is like a wicked sacrifice, man. Okay, so let's I got a few videos to tap into, and brother could, because this one's dealing with famine, so brother could put all the brothers put all the famine precepts, I know that one in second Ezra 6 and I think it's 25, the storehouse shall be suddenly empty. Okay, the one in Ezekiel 4 and I think like 16, okay, Samuel, not Samuel, Jeremiah 15 verses 1 through 3, the one in Matthew 24, going to the last days, anything dealing with famine, second Ezra 16, 21, 22, brothers know the famine precept. But this is what this one is going to go into. And see, one thing when we listen to these these podcasts and these these news analysts and certain alternative news, they speak with optimism, okay, because they don't fully understand prophecy, so they got certain information, that's that complements what we're saying according to prophecy, all right, but then they put their optimism in it, because who wants to see, all right, because if you uh hold on. Yeah, because a lot of these, these Americans, they still have this hope for America. You be hearing now, 'cause as we get to the nitty gritty, you can hear, the despair among some of these podcasters and these news analysts, and they try to hype themselves up like it's not gonna be that bad. But nah, man, it's gonna be way worse than what anybody can imagine. Okay, and that's why we're gonna need a higher power. So let's play this. Dealing with the coming food shortage. Okay, and we know these things because of prophecy, man. All right.
Prize. The people in power were warned about this. We warned about it here. Our next guest has been warning about it for years, even far longer than we have, by a landslide. Mike Adams is the founder of the Brighteon platforms, naturalnews.com. You might follow him on X under the Health Ranger. He has been out on this for years. Mike, great to have you back on the show.
It's great to join you again. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. The FT, the Financial Times, had a pretty ominous story about a week ago. I just want to put up the headline here, The Coming Global Food Crisis. It's a really interesting read, but I think one of the most interesting parts of this article stood out to me. The disruption is especially dangerous because it hits before the harvests that are coming in the fall. Higher fertilizer prices now and the lockdown now means that farmers use less fertilizer, don't have access to it, which means they plant less, which means they produce much less food. And then, so we might not see it on our store shelves at the moment, but this is the cascading effect. What do you think about that?
We will be impacted in Western countries, even in the United States. Although we won't face mass starvation in America, we will face much higher food prices.
And it is going to be mass starvation in America. Like I said, they speak with this optimism. All right, they're optimistic, as if, because these people like him, they think they're going to weather the storm, because he's big on, satellite radios and having gold and, growing your own food, okay, which that's going to be a non-factor, when the judgment of the Lord settled in, okay, because they're thinking that just because, America has this abundance, okay, that they're going to be okay. They're going to deal with inflation, but it's going to be people that's going to be affected, but it's not going to be a massive famine. Well, it is going to be a massive famine because at least going to be sabotaging, okay, in America, man. You see, because we have grid shutdowns, when you have the economy collapse, when no truckers are able to move, when nothing is able to move, because it's an energy crisis as well, so they can shut down trucking completely. They can shut down driving completely, man. Okay? So it's a lot of things, that's going to happen at the same time that's going to cause a mass famine, because America's going to get it the worst, man. You think America, just going to get to kick it through this time? Nah, man, America's going to get it the worst. Okay, America is going to be the worst place to be on the earth, man. In the time of tribulation. Okay, and then people are entitled, and people have this gun, so you're going to have the massive violence. Because when people can't afford food, man, they not just going to chill while everyone else is eating. They're going to go take, man. All right, you see the spirit that was on Eve when they were talking about shutting down the food stamps. Okay. You see the spirit Eve was in, man. So imagine these Edomites these Americans that are capable, okay, of doing much harm, with weaponry when they can't eat, man. All right, these tactical Americans, man. Okay, these veterans, these certain mercenaries that are here, they're gonna be turned loose, man. So, it's gonna be bad in America, man. The play is a little more.
But there will be mass starvation in other countries around the world, and research leads to being able to identify exactly which countries those are. That includes Yemen, it includes Bangladesh. There are risks in India, risks even in Egypt, and many other countries that are they have tens of millions of people that are just marginally would die if not for food aid, but that food aid will not be nearly as available or affordable. So the food aid organizations around the world are going to be wrecked. Now, there's actually a double threat here that your audience needs to keep in mind. Number one is, of course, fertilizer exports from countries like China and Russia have been halted. So when India went to China and said, hey, we need some fertilizer in order to feed our people, China said, sorry, we have to keep it for ourselves domestically. But then there are countries like Bangladesh that have their own fertilizer production plants using the Haber-Bosch process that converts natural gas into ammonia and urea. But you need natural gas as the feedstock. And of course, natural gas is not shipping. Qatar Energy has declared force majeure on their commitments. So even if you have a fertilizer plant in your country, you don't get fertilizer right now. So it's a double hit on these countries. And the bottom line is that literally hundreds of millions of people are about to be thrust into extreme famine and real starvation deaths later this year and well into 2027.
The cruelty of imposing this on countries that are allies, countries that have nothing to do with this, and they can't do anything about it except maybe cry and beg, but the globalists will do nothing about it. And so, this will create warlike conditions. This is going to create instability. So can we talk about that as well?
Well, as they say, 9 meals away from anarchy, right? So when your populations can't feed themselves, then they begin to revolt. So we will see social upheaval in many countries, but not in Russia. They can feed themselves. Not in China because they have resources and multiple trading partners with lots of food redundancy. And not in America or Canada or the UK. But again, these vulnerable countries, many of them in Africa.
And it's going to be the worst in those countries, man. Okay? Because those, especially in America, where people are armed, So in his mind, he's just thinking that it's going to be, these poor countries that's going to starve, which they're going to get hit first. Okay? Because, the elites want to do away with the poor because they hate the poor. So it makes sense that, these poor countries are going to starve first. Okay? But there's going to be things happening that's going to bring starvation to America. See, they're not factoring in the will of the Lord. He's just trying to go by logistics and stats. And no, the will of the Lord is starvation. Okay, and mainly here for America. Man. Okay, it's going to be a global famine. You see, because and another thing too, the survivors of these tribulations, Esau want to present with their sea hill, so he needs desperation, man. Okay, but they want to be optimistic because they don't want to deal with the reality of what's to come. Okay, so let's get a couple of precepts to prove. Okay, and that's why we stick to prophecy. We can fill in the gaps. Where they fall short. This 2nd Ezra 6:22 it says, and suddenly shall, this is brother GMS times a doctor. Yara 144K. It says 2nd Ezra 6:22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. Okay, so even places of abundance, suddenly they're going to appear unsown, and there's only 3 days worth of food in these grocery stores. People are going to panic buy. All right, and as people panic buy, man, it's going to get to a point to where going to the grocery store is like the grocery store going to be a war zone, and then people just going to start taking. Okay, in America, America has more guns than citizens, man. And these people are more entitled, more demonic. Okay, Americans already hate each other. They don't value life. Okay, this is crash out culture, man. All right, so it's gonna be the worst right here in the whore. Okay, it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, man. Okay, so even places that once had abundance, okay, all these nations are going to have to deal with this famine because it's the judgment of the Lord. All right, this is not just no breakdown in logistics, okay, and you're going to be able to strategize your way, through the breakdown in this supply chain. No, it's going to be it's the judgment of the Lord. This famine is from the heavens. Okay, let's play a little more of this.
Some in the Middle East and some in Southeast Asia. it's going to be brutal, even for Thailand. I didn't even mention Thailand. They're going to face a lot of political instability because of this. But the bottom line is that will lead to global instability in supply chains, because many of these countries are involved in things that affect us. For example, Egypt runs the Suez Canal, right? And if we can't use the Suez Canal for some reason because Egypt is demanding food aid and they're not getting it, they could shut down the canal. And it's like, your guest and my friend Michael Yan has warned for years about routes and resources. What we're actually witnessing right now on a global scale is the shutting down of those routes and resources that have created food abundance and material abundance for the human species for decades. And that is now ending. That is ending, at least until there's some resolution of this war of choice that Trump has thrust us all into, even though he didn't have to. That's where we are.
I heard a member of Congress saying just the other day, it's costing about $1 billion a day now just for the Strait of Hormuz to be for us to be dealing with the Strait of Hormuz being close. So wait a second, we're spending that now that it's closed, but when it was open, we weren't spending that. It absolutely makes it's maddening. It makes no sense at all. Michael Yan, as you pointed out, he was talking about, of course, about the Strait of Malacca specifically coming next, and of course, what's happening in the Baltics, what's about to happen in the Arctic Circle as well. And his whole point has been that this is really a globalist push for depopulation agenda. That this is all part of the plan, and so we need to go look a layer deeper here than what the Washington newspapers are telling us, right?
Well, absolutely. And it's hilarious to me that every AI model today and every search engine will still tell you that depopulation is to 1969. The New York Times covered a meeting of over 200 organizations that also included President Richard Nixon's science advisor, who said that controlling population needs to be the #1 priority of every nation on Earth. And that meeting was
going back to Nixon. All right, that wicked nigga, man. Okay, he the one that took America off the gold standard. Okay, and made it a fiat currency. You see, and the devil said, it needs to be every nation's priority to control its population. Okay, talking about depopulation, man, and what's one of the main, tools, that they use, because it's been starvation. It's been nations starving for years, man. There's been nations starving for decades, man. Okay, and they intentionally do these things, man. And he's going to go into the experiments and particular things that these devils, do, especially over in Africa. Bill Gates, that nigga been a demon for decades, man. These people that come to the forefront, American politics, if these leaders, these leaders of the world, all right, these men have been doing complete wickedness throughout the earth, man. Okay, so their depopulation agenda, all right, is in full effect. Okay, and we can see these things intensify this year, man. In the months to come, we'll see. Okay, but we know, like I said, who's going to suffer first? The poorest country and the poorest of, the poorest of these countries, man. Okay, and we know, that Jake, has the least resources in this society. Okay, because having money, FRN knows those are not true resources. And that's what people are going to find out, that the money, the FRN is not true resources, man. Okay. So when you go, this is brother Mark Abal, Ezekiel 4:16. Moreover, he said unto me, son of man, behold, I, and this is what we got to emphasize on. This is the Heavenly Father's doing. Esau's a tool being used to bring these things about, but this is the Lord's doing. That's why it goes beyond, these logistics of supply chains, routes and resources. This is divine judgment from the Lord. It says, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and by care. It said, and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, man. And it's going to be rationings. You see, people are going to be subjugated to rationing, man. All right. And after a while, what do you think you're going to have to get your daily rationing? Okay, you have to have their C-hip. Okay, so starvation will be a very convenient crisis for these devils to get compliance for, first of all, for them to depopulate. Famine plays a major part in that. All right, of depopulation, man. It's like a nuclear weapon that doesn't destroy infrastructure. Okay, you could get a lot of people out of there. You see, so you have the famine, okay, which is going to depopulate and also create compliance for this NWO. Okay, this is a brother, Elder Hawaii, GMS North Carolina. It's Matthew 24:7 said, "For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilence and earthquakes, all right, in diverse places," man. So you see, famine is always in the mix. Okay? Famine is a big indicator of where we at, all right, in the end game. You see? Okay. Yep. So go back to this Ezekiel 4:17. Then we go back to that Matthew 24:8. Ezekiel 4:17, the brother Mark Abal, it said that they may want bread and water and be astonished one with another and consume away. And that's gonna be a dying of famine, man. That torturous death of dying by famine. As the scriptures say, what's that, Lamentation 4:9? Okay, and consume away for their iniquity. You see? So read this in verse 8. It says, Jeremiah 28:8. Okay. This is the brother Elder Hawaii, GMS North Carolina. Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both of many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay. So all these things always run together, man. War, famine, evil, bad times, and pestilence, man. Because even famine itself, creates dis-ease. Okay, even the famine itself creates a dis-ease because it greatly weakens, the immune system. When you go into a famine greatly, weakens your immune system. Okay, so as people out here starving, they're going to be subjugated to what? Pestilence, man. And it's the Lord doing this, man. The Lord said that who created that aspect of the body getting weak, and your immune system getting weak because of famine? Who created that concept? The Most High, man. Okay, so we're watching the play of the Heavenly Father being played out in the earth, man, and we understand the roles of the left and of the right. All right, and we know Yahweh Shai is going to end it. The Heavenly Father is going to end this thing with their right hand, Yahweh Shai. Okay, He's going to end the fight with their right hand. You see, this is another one. All right, the brother GMS North Carolina, the brother Elder Hawaii, Ezekiel 7:15. It said the sword is without, and the pestilence and famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him, man. Okay? So there's no escaping the judgment, man. This is the judgment from the Lord, So whether you die from civil unrest, all right, whether you die trying to defend your food, okay, or whether you die trying to take food, okay, whether you just die because you're, all right, lack of access to food, okay, it's all the judgment of the Lord, man. Okay. But I'm gonna go back to this video because he's gonna go into, all right, the devil's antics throughout the years of depopulation. So let's go back a little bit,
Part of the plan. And so we need to go look a layer deeper here than what the Washington newspapers are telling us, right?
Well, absolutely. And it's hilarious to me that every AI model today and every search engine will still tell you that depopulation is a conspiracy theory. But if you go back to 1969, the New York Times covered a meeting of over 200 organizations that also included President Richard Nixon's science advisor, who said that controlling population needs to be the number one priority of every nation on earth. And that meeting was also, they headlined Dr. Paul Ehrlich, the author of, I believe, The Population Bomb. And he specifically proposed, and it was widely supported, that we should put infertility chemicals into the water supply, and also that would affect countries like Africa. And then, of course, the Catholic Bishops Association started testing the vaccines that were being given to the young women of childbearing age in Kenya, and found that they were laced with infertility chemicals. So there has been a decades-long effort to achieve depopulation. And I believe that the COVID years were also one test case, kind of a pilot program to see how much they could get away with. And they got away with a lot. And now we're facing the full rollout. And it is deliberate, and it is going to be devastating to those who are not prepared.
Yeah. Just look at the United Nations. You put this up on the screen. You mentioned Sudan earlier. We'll just put this up on the screen here. Over half of South Sudan's population faces acute hunger as we speak right now.
And then for Americans, there will be supplies. We won't have the same abundance, and it will be incrementally higher. We saw this happen right away when the war in Ukraine broke out. Prices went crazy. It's hard to imagine it getting worse, but it will, right? Can we talk about that?
Given that so many Americans are one paycheck away from being kicked out of their apartment or their home, given that Americans are paying the highest prices ever for health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, many Americans are on the verge of bankruptcy right now, of being homeless. And I've painted a picture where if you fast forward to mid-2027, you're going to see millions of Americans, millions more, living out of their vehicles, even with their families, with children in a van, trying to raise a family in a van, because food is so expensive that it displaces the income they would otherwise spend on rent or a home or other things. Many Americans are going to have to start letting go of key expenditures in order to not starve. I do believe the food will still be available in North America. You're not going to see shelves completely wiped out, but prices are going to be so high that those who don't have over $100,000 a year in income are going to find it very difficult to feed themselves.
It's just absolutely devastating. Let's talk about Europe a little bit. Friedrich Merz today was playing dress up, wearing a military, garb, like he's about to be attacked, standing there in front of armored vehicles, talking about Europe.
So look at this clown, all right, from Germany. Okay, I think he's supposed to be the chancellor of Germany. All right, the prime minister one. Okay, as if he finna jump into the war, which is all a joke. All right, these EU nations, as things have played out, they've been told to stand down. All right, which they couldn't do much anyway. And I don't believe that they will gonna jump in anyway, because they can't do too much of nothing. All right, because but now what you're seeing, for sure they've been told to stand down and let it play out. And at least gonna ride this narrative. All right, and pull a reset. And attempt a global reset off this narrative of energy crisis. Okay, but just look at this clown. All right, with his big ass jacket on.
Europe, and how basically Germany now, because it's become massively militarized and spending billions now to militarize Germany, I guess, to fight Russia. But we will open the Strait of Hormuz, essentially. Like, we've got to stop this. Germany is going to step in now. We are being devastated, but Europe is getting desperate. Just watch Friedrich Merz here playing dress up.
Sicherheit. Und genauso, es ist ein Beitrag zu einer erneuerten transatlantischen Partnerschaft. Ich habe das ja mehrfach betont. Wir setzen uns in diesem Geist auch dafür ein, jetzt schnell die iranische Blockade der Straße von Hormuz zu beenden. Wenn die entsprechenden Voraussetzungen gegeben sind, dann steht Deutschland bereit, sich auch militärisch zu engagieren, um die Freiheit der Seewege zu gewährleisten vor dem europäischen...
Germany is now...
Yeah, so basically... he's saying, look, if this keep going, Germany gonna have to jump in. So and they do that for the public, to make it seem as if they're about, getting the straits open. But it ain't about the straits, all right, being open anymore. It's about the energy crisis. They need this narrative for the crisis now, okay? Because he had but a short time, so he got to pull it. He got to go with his move, man. Even though certain things are backfired on him and don't go exactly how he wanted to go, okay, he still got to go with his move because it's the Lord that's pushing this nigga, man. Just like we're influenced on the right hand side to teach and do lessons and to read and to fast and do what we do on the right hand side. Well, this nigga's influenced by Satan to do what got to be done on the left, man. So this nigga got to go with his plate, okay? So depopulation is heavy, okay, on the agenda, man, okay, of this new world order. All right, and famine is gonna play a major part in it, man. Famine and pestilence, and then don't forget all the people that have taken their juice. I don't believe we seen the end of that, man. There's no telling what's in people, and what frequency you can send out. All right, well, people just hey out of here, man. Okay, so we haven't seen the end of that juice, man. Okay, so all this is playing into a depopulation agenda. He's gonna say a few more things. All right, then we'll go to the next video.
I'm going to step in to secure the sea lanes in the Strait of Hormuz. So Europe is getting desperate. And of course, the joke in Europe, where we lived for a number of years was, what is it? If Germany
sneezes, the rest of Europe gets a cold.
Yeah. So obviously, so goes Germany, so goes Europe. So they're getting desperate in Europe. This is hitting them particularly hard.
Well, that saying that you just mentioned actually comes out of an era when Germany was fueled by cheap Russian gas. Right. And that era is long gone, right? So Germany is not the industrial center of Western Europe. And by the way, you saw Merritt's there, dressing up as a clown. I think his collar is too small. He needs more cowbell for that one right there. It's a clown show every single day what they're doing. But Germany's leaders, and by the way, I'm not directing my comments towards the German people or the British people or the French people, because there are good people everywhere, and everybody wants to survive and thrive and raise families and be able to keep what they earn. But their leaders are running a suicide cult. That there's no question about that. It's cultural suicide, it's economic suicide, it's energy suicide. They can dress up all they want. It doesn't change anything. The leaders of Germany are anti-German. The leaders of France are anti-French. It's so bad that Western Europe will be lucky to survive this era of horribly treasonous leadership. And I feel very sad for the people of Western Europe and what they're having to endure.
And it's even worse here in America. The American government is anti-Americans, the people. All these governments see the New World Order, the whole thing is what we're seeing play out, okay, is these wealthy families, these oligarchs, okay, they're establishing a world order, okay, to where they stay wealthy. In their mind, they're going to stay wealthy forever, and they're going to have a permanent poor class. So this new world order, the reason why it's about so much control, because they want to keep a part of it. They want to keep a permanent elite class of wealth, all right, and a permanent, all right, class of poverty, man. Okay, so these different governments, man, they're juiced in, okay, to these elite bankers, and they don't care about the masses. The New World Order is not for the masses, okay? It's for the masses to be controlled, tracked, and surveyed, okay? It's for the oligarchs to reach a level of abundance, okay, that they've never seen before. You see, it's all about them, reaching a certain status, and they got different cliques amongst these elite families. And that's why you see the infighting. Okay? That's why we see the infighting with these different conflicts. Yes, they're pushing the global reset because they want this reset. These oligarchs, they want this reset. Okay? But then there's, different models they want to run with it. You got different cliques amongst them. And then there's only limited resources to power, all right, this thing, man. And who has the most resources has the most leverage, going into this new world order, man. Okay, so all these governments have completely sold out their people, you know, and they're making moves on behalf of the elites, okay, of these nations, man. Okay, it's all about this new world order is all about the elite class, man. Okay, it doesn't benefit, all right, the masses at all. This new world order doesn't benefit you at all. Okay, so let's go from there. Segue to this video. Um, he's gonna talk about a little bit. So when you go here to I think it's this one, yeah. Now this one, he got a little bone, he got some bones in it too, you know. So we'll pick them out along the way, you know. But he said some things. All right, he makes some points in this video, you know. Like this guy, he be on point, and then sometimes be, you know, way off, and you know. But like I said, they're not operating with the understanding of prophecy, man. You know, he does this game theory, and you see, he studies the patterns of history, which is, you know, it's good to do that. But then when you're not filtering these things through prophecy, you can go way off. Okay, and that's where, you know, the Lord set up the prophets, you know, to go through these things. So let's play this.
It's all part of the plan, right? The 10-day calls for a technocracy. What is technocracy? Government ruled by AI. That's why America's building all these data centers, even though they cost a turn of money. They don't really actually turn any profit, right? So if you are a company like OpenAI, the more subscribers you have, the more money you lose, because it actually costs you more money to have subscribers than you can generate profit for them. But you have Operation Stargate in place, $500 billion to build data centers all across America. So why would they do that? And the answer is the technocracy. The answer is you're moving towards an empire. You need to create AI surveillance state, digital currency, digital ID, and it helps you do a national draft, helps you control the people, it helps you ration energy and food.
Do you see a way to
and this whole AI thing, because people think, you know, AI, you know, was created to, you know, enhance their life, you know, make their work easier, make it a tool, you know, replace some workers, but some workers that make their jobs easier, you know, so forth and so on. No, AI was built for this control system. Okay, this is what AI is for. AI is built, okay, for a control system. You see, because it costs them more money, you know, to have subscribers. You know, a bunch of people just, you know, making pictures and videos and using AI all day. Well, they cost, you know, those data centers, you know, they cost these companies more money to have subscribers than not to have subscribers. Because in the new world order, you're not going to be making AI videos, man. Okay, that data, you know, that data is going to be, okay, those data centers are going to be strictly for the surveillance state. Okay, there ain't going to be no recreational AI use, okay, in the new world order. Okay, all that data and all that computing power is going to be for tracking and surveilling and managing, okay, this control system. You see, so even, you know, the recreational use of AI, you know, that's a Trojan horse as well. Okay, it's just training AI to manage the masses, man. Okay, so let's play a little more of this.
turn this around, or is this already, this is in the cards because history dictates, and they've, is there I mean, could there be a charismatic leader who turns this around for the United, but they would just kill him, right?
Yeah.
And to show you how desperate, you know, he talking about they're gonna be a charismatic leader. They can turn things around. Well, nigga, what does charisma have to do with any goddamn thing? Okay, no, you need power. That's why Howard Shah is coming back with power. Okay, the hell's a charismatic leader? Man? What does charisma have to do with anything? Okay, so to show you the despair that these people are in, because people, they're getting to the point to it, because this thing is just keep spiraling out of control and they can't make sense of it. So you can sense the despair on these people, man. Okay, nigga talking about a charismatic leader, man. What is that? Okay. Oh man, our king is coming back with power. Okay. Matter of fact, if a brother can post that real quick, Haggai chapter 2 and 22. Haggai 2 and 22. Mm-hmm. Get this real quick. The brother got, it's a brother GMS Bum a lot. Psalms 39 and 6. It says, surely every man walketh in a vain show. You know, so Esau and these agendas and plans that he got for his new world order, a lot of it, you know, most of it he's not gonna get to, man. Okay. The Lord's gonna come and intervene. All right, because it's so tacky, and a lot of the stuff he got is so tacky and so dumb, okay, that he trying to do. Okay. But we know, all right, he's going to get to the point to where he's going to mandate his MOTB, you know, and before that, we know he's going to bring the chaos, man. All right, he's going to push depopulation. He's going to push, you know, the order out of chaos, you know, and he's going to get to the point in the midst of that, you know, depopulation agenda. He's going to create a solution. I mean, he's going to present a solution, all right, because the solution is already, all right, cocked and loaded, ready to go, man. Locked and loaded, ready to go. Okay? But what we're seeing, Esau, man, a lot of this is a vain show. Okay? It says, surely they are disquieted, all right, in vain. He heapeth up riches and knoweth not who shall gather them, man. You know, so these elite families, these different oligarchs, man, you know, all these different nations and their elites and their, you know, governments who are all with this new world order agenda, you know, because you have the upper echelon, man. They're fighting to be a part of this upper class, man, because they know it's going to be a permanent upper class, man. You know, so we're seeing these nations scuffle to be a part, okay, of that class of wealth, okay, in this new world order, man. Okay, but it's all in vain because they all finna lose, man. Okay, and know if not, who shall gather at them, man? You know, which is going to be the nation of Israel is going to gather, okay, the wealth of the world, beginning with Yahweh Shai. Okay, let's go here. Because like I say, this guy talking about a charismatic leader. You know, you Americans waiting on the charismatic leader. So goddamn gullible, man. Okay. This GMS Tazadak Yara'ah. All right, this is Haggai 2 and 22. Says, I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of kingdoms of the heathen, and will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them. You see, so Yahweh Shai is coming to overthrow the strength of the heathen, which is their militaries, man. He's coming to destroy the militaries of the heathen. Okay? He's not coming back to be no charismatic leader, man. It's not gonna get you nowhere, man. Okay? Charisma. Okay? It says, and the horses and their riders, all right, which are their militaries, it says, and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. You know, so in the midst of this war, when these nations are fighting each other, Yahweh Shai is going to come and destroy them all, man. Okay? Was in Revelation 19, 11, and you know, Yahweh Shai is coming to wage war and righteousness, man. That's the solution. A righteous war needs to be waged on this wicked society, man. Okay? So let's play a little more. Listen to this guy.
Dictates and they've is there I mean could there be a charismatic leader who turns this around for the United, but they would just kill him, right?
Yeah, so I don't think this plan will work out because the empire is in decline. They're desperate, right? So they want a national draft. They want a AI control grid. This is all part of their plan. But the people in charge aren't that bright and they're not that effective. And I think this is all going to blow up in their face because I think the American people are much more resilient, much more creative than they believe. It's worked out in China.
Now, the American people, okay, have been bend the knee. Okay? And that's why it's going to be so much desperation. These people in America, the ones that remain, okay, from the chaos, they're going to bend the knee. Okay, the American people are ready for the taking. You know, there's going to be an initial resistance. Okay, but if these things, you know, as famine continues, as civil unrest continues as, okay, you know, the third war, the third world conditions begin to settle in, the convenience is gone, okay? These people gonna buckle, man, okay? So there's gonna be initial resistance from the American people, which they want that, because they want to punch back with these mercenaries and these UN troops and these ICE troops and these drones and these robots. Okay, so they want, all right, that initial resistance from the American people, so they can be justified, okay, in countering, okay, with more force. You see?
If you come to China, I'll show you around. We have AI surveillance. We have AI digital currency and digital ID, and it's worked out well in China. But the Chinese people are a different breed. The American people love freedom, they love liberty, and I think that the Americans rather fight than surrender their liberty.
So now I'm hearing you say another, like so there is a chance that the American people, because we do value our freedom, although you couldn't tell, half the country certainly didn't during COVID. They were willing to accept every single restriction on their freedom, and including fascist Nazi-like impositions of forcing people to take experimental medical treatments. So you think that the answer to this lies in the mass of people coming together?
So yeah, the COVID lockdowns were bad in America, but they were nowhere near as bad as that in China or Canada, right? In Canada, there were the trucker protests, and these were just people who wanted a meeting with Justin Trudeau because they had questions about the vaccine mandate, and instead they were debanked. If you actually gave $1 to the truckers, you also debanked. So Canada is far more authoritarian than the United States. In the United States, if you didn't like the vaccine mandate, you moved somewhere else. You moved to a red state that didn't have these vaccine mandates. You couldn't do that in China. You couldn't do that in Canada. You couldn't do that in Europe. So I think that America is really the best hope for.
And that's why they know they got to come the hardest in America. You see, America they've been getting off easy, okay? But see, this go around, they gonna really come with it with America, man, because they know they gotta break their pride, all right? And then, and the least, it's like the least gotta whoop they spoiled child, because they the one that pampered America, man, okay? So it's like the least they gotta finally, beat they spoiled child. They've been doing it covertly, poisoning the food and poisoning the music and the enchantments and this. But now they got to come, okay, with their overt, with their open force, man. Okay, they got to beat they spoiled ass child here in America, man. Okay, so they finna come with it in America. You see, they know they gotta go on and break up America, because America is the farthest behind as far as New World Order, all right, agenda, because China, like I say, China, all they have to do is insert the C here, and they fully into the New World Order. The different Asian countries, and Sweden, we know that they already have people with the C hip. Okay, Russia is far ahead than America as far as New World Order ready. So they got to catch America up, man. So they got to bring a lot of chaos and death, famine, atrocities. They got to bring it to America, man. That's why America finna be the worst place to be. Okay.
For the world, unfortunately, the people in charge, even though they're not that strategic, even though they're not that smart, they are pretty evil. So we can imagine that they will promote false flag up.
Hey, he said they're not that strategic, but they evil. With the devil, he has craftiness. He's crafty. Okay, and as of late, we know the Lord is stripping him of wisdom. So he's been tacky as of late. Okay, but one thing we do, we can debate, on their craftiness, but one thing that's undebatable, the niggas are evil. All right, and it ain't nothing that these niggas won't do. Okay, you see, so he's gonna go into the things that's gonna be going on. All right, gonna play this a little more.
somewhere else. You move to a red state that didn't have these vaccine mandates. You can do that in China. You can do that in Canada. You can do that in Europe. So I think that America is really the best hope for the world. Unfortunately, the people in charge, even though they're not that strategic, even though they're not that smart, they are pretty evil. So we can imagine that they will promote false flag operations. They will promote civil wars in order to justify the use of a AI surveillance state. And so this is the Pentagon strategy moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years. And that's 4 major pillars that help us explain why the war is progressing the way it is in the Middle East. The first major pillar is to secure the Western Hemisphere, the American home front. The second pillar is to contain China. The third pillar is to make better use of American allies, to basically encourage them to participate more in global defense. The fourth pillar is to ramp up America's wartime industrial production. Okay, and we're already seeing these 4 pillars play out. So from
Yeah, man. So as he said, all right, prepare, for more false flags, to justify, AI surveillance, okay, to justify search and destroy, okay, to deem, certain parts, certain, ideologies, as terroristic in America. And it's all playing into depopulation, man. So whether it's, through the sword, through famine, okay, which all these things are prophesied, man, and it's the Lord. All right. Remember, this is the Lord's left hand sword in play. Okay. So we're going to see the Lord really activate the left hand right here in America, man. Okay, and wreak havoc on the American people. Okay. So this is where we at in prophecy, man. So let's get let me see, the brother has something. If a brother can post it in Daniel 12:1, a brother posted in Daniel 12:1, we'll end it there. All right, see if there's anything else on the comment board. Yeah, let's get this as well. This is the brother servants of Yahweh. Isaiah 59:19 says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shah from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like the flood, the spirit of the Lord, all right, shall lift up a standard, all right, against him." Okay, because we know, within the midst of, the devil rolling and, terrorizing, all right, that he wants to, all right, get at the prophets, man. And that's when things gonna shift. There's a few, as we know, according to prophecy, there will be martyrs. Okay, but that's not gonna be the theme of this time. Okay, the theme of this time was really gonna be the play. Is the Lord gonna lift a standard against this nigga, man? Okay, so the Lord gonna show power in the midst of all this, man, as we go through what this devil got going on, the depopulation, the famines. But guess what? The Lord gonna show power, and the Lord said we're gonna have abundance and be merry while people starve. Okay, and the Lord said He's gonna lift a standard, okay, against this devil when he roll in like a flood, man. So we got provisions, okay, on every side, man. Whether it's food, whether it's power, whether it's whatever we need, man. Whether it's the spirit to, if it's our lot, all right, to take the death, man, the spirit to take the death. Okay, whatever our lot is, man, because we know, hey, death ain't the end. Okay, it's just, hey, death is, we die in your house, child. That's victory, man. You see? And we gotta, hey, discuss these things, man. We die in your house, child. This victory, man. Okay, we're coming right back on those chariots, man. Okay, we're gonna partake in Revelation 15. See, nothing separates the elect from Revelation chapter 15, verses 1-3. Okay, nothing separates the elect from that, man. Okay, so let's see. Let me get that in Daniel real quick. So let's go here to Daniel chapter 12. All right, so this is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 1. It says, and at that time, all right, shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since the world was since there was a nation. Okay, and Michael, you know, he's one of the top archangels, and we know he's a representative of the spiritual realm. You know, so we know the spiritual realm is going to be involved, and ultimately, all right, the Savior Yahweh Shai, okay, is going to come, you know, and judge the world, and he's going to deliver his elect, you know, because those nukes hitting America, well, it's part of the Lord's judgment. Okay, Yahweh Shai destroying the heathens militaries, man, destroying his infrastructure. Okay, that's all part of the Lord's judgment, man. You see, and that's going to be the ultimate intervention from the spiritual realm is Yahweh Shai, you know, and before then, as the scripture says, the Lord is going to give his angels charge over thee, man. It's going to be miracles, man. His angels are going to be more active, man. You know, so Esau is getting ready to go forth with his, you know, agenda to destroy, man. The Lord is also going to activate their right hand. You know, we're going to see more activity on the right hand as well. Okay? Because it's going to take nothing short of a miracle to get through these times. It says, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written, okay, in the book of life, man, written in the book, you know? So in the midst of the greatest times ever, man, we're going to see the greatest miracles ever, okay? And it's going to be the greatest deliverance ever, you know, so much so that we're not even going to talk about, you know, Egypt anymore. You know, ancient Egypt. We're going to talk about this new deliverance. You know, what the Lord did this time, man. You know, so yeah, that's the point. You know, we'll leave it there. You know, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elder GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the whole Shalom.